On today's episode of the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech sports podcast, we discuss Texas Tech's massive win in Ames, what this means for the Joey McGuire era, and has the defense turned a corner? That and much more next on the Broadway Shuffle. Okay, gentlemen, we are here. We are live Monday morning after Texas Tech has found a way to surprise us all. Texas Tech beats Iowa State 23-22 on the road on a Taj Brooks game-winning touchdown. It was a roller coaster of a game, lots of emotions. I even called you guys idiots in our group message at one point because I was getting so nervous. But Texas Tech nonetheless found a way. Conrad, I'll start with you, man. You are usually our hype man for Texas Tech football, and you actually picked us to lose, I think, for one of the first times this season. But nonetheless, man, you get to celebrate. How are you doing coming off the win? And maybe a little sneak peek into the Kool-Aid factory later this episode. I got a feeling the Cyclone Cola paid off for the Kool-Aid factory.
Father Joey and the Texas Tech football team, I would like to ask for your forgiveness. I picked us to lose. I was wrong. I'm still pinching myself. I don't know how we did it, but all that I know is that we did win by 1 point in Ames, Iowa over Iowa State. I could not be more excited. I could not be more proud of this football team. We say a lot of things on this podcast. I think most of them intelligent, some not so intelligent. But our pick of Texas Tech to lose, we felt was justified based on how we'd played the weeks prior, but we were wrong. And so I could not be more excited that we were wrong because that win is, in my opinion, the best win of Joey McGuire's era so far at Texas Tech, and just cannot believe that we won that game. But excited for what that means for the team, excited for the future, and really just proud of those guys and the way they played on the road up in Ames, Iowa.
For sure. And we'll get into that question of, is this the best win in Joey's tenure up to this point? But Clayton, want to go to you. You, I felt like, had a little more hope on this game, especially as the game started picking up into the second quarter. Was it blind faith, Clayton, or did you know something we didn't? And how are you feeling about the program after that win?
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of blind faith throughout the game, but huge win for the program. I don't think you can overstate how massive this is, especially after the last 2 weeks and just coming from the standpoint of the road struggles as a whole under Joey. And then going into this week, top 11 teams in the AP poll were 43-6 at home. And 3 of those losses were Utah with Isaac Wilson, Michigan, and then Florida State at the beginning of the year, which aren't really top 10 teams. So this was just a huge win for the program to be able to go into Ames, extremely tough place to play, and get a win, especially having to do it with a game-winning drive.
Yeah, the game-winning drive was nerve-wracking for sure. Z, initial reaction here now that you've got to kind of process what this win means for your program.
Yeah, unbelievably gutsy response from McGuire and the Red Raiders. I don't think anybody was giving you a chance here, myself included. It just felt like, the defense had been getting gashed. Offense hadn't been able to move it as consistently as we would have liked. Going into a top 11 team, they're 7-0, looking to go 8-0 for the first time in program history. It's homecoming. There were a ton of things playing against you. And then you were down at halftime. Matt Campbell teams never lose when they're down at halftime. He's been great at closing out wins. And you found a way. I mean, super impressive. I think I even said on last week's episode, I don't see us winning a super low scoring, 20-point game. I just don't think that's in the cards. And that's what exactly ended up happening. So, credit to them. There were a lot of, bumps and bruises along the way. I remember being very frustrated at the end of the first half, and Clayton texted and was like, if you would have given me 13-10 before the start of the game, I would have taken it, no questions asked. And that's absolutely right. You played a really good half and you ended it poorly, but just really impressed, man. What a huge win. I love McGuire, man. He's an awesome coach. I love what he's done for the program and kind of the direction that you're on right now.
Yeah, and you see that in his post-game interview, just the emotion that he displayed talking about this team. They see people like us, qualified media members for sure after going over 4 in our predictions, right? And what we say about the team, what people tweet about the team, and you could see the emotion that he wears on his sleeve, man. It was great to see, and you feel for those guys because these are kids at the end of the day, and what they go through and what they expect, adults like us, the expectations that we put on them week in and week out. So for them to come off getting destroyed against Baylor at home, a game that you really felt like you should have won against TCU, to go into Ames, a tough place to play, an undefeated team, a team that has found a way to win, and one of the best defenses in the conference, and to pull out a low-scoring, grinded-out win. It just credit to Joey and credit to the staff, because they also had got a lot of heat, especially off of what happened in the fourth quarter against TCU. So for them to all to rally together and find a way to win, man, I mean, kudos. It makes you proud to be a Red Raider for this week, for sure. Well, I want to go into a question to start the show before we kind of get into the game a little bit. And I think, Conrad, you might have touched on it, but Clay, I'll go to you first. There's a couple games that come to mind before this question. You have the Texas game in 2022. You could even go maybe the OU game and even maybe the Texas Bowl against Ole Miss. But is this, in your mind, the best win up to this point in Joey McGuire's tenure?
I think I would probably lean towards yes. The Texas game is definitely a close second, and you could definitely make a strong argument for that one as well. I think we were double-digit underdogs in that game too, but this one being on the road in November in Ames against an undefeated Iowa State, I'd probably lean this as more impressive, although definitely always makes the fan base happy to beat Texas. So I think they're right there, but I'd probably lean towards this one.
Yep. Conrad?
Yeah, I would say yes, as I mentioned earlier, just because of what you're coming off of, right? We can't lose sight of that. So to be able to come out and play the way you did after getting your butt whooped at home against Baylor and then losing to TCU on the road by 1, a game that we think you should have won, and then come out and play like this and beat a team that's as good as Iowa State is, because Iowa State's a fantastic team. Matt Campbell's done a really good job up there in Ames for the time he's been there. And so to do what you did and to go into that place in that also awful weather and win that game in the second half, I would absolutely say yes, because it's never easy to win on the road. We've done it a little bit, but the narrative around Joey has been he can't win on the road, which I'm not sure there's some justification to that, but not a ton. And so at this point in his tenure, especially after beating Iowa State, I would definitely say that's the biggest win. But I would also ask the question to fans of, if you're going to go beat Iowa State on the road, is that narrative really going to still hold up of you can't win on the road? Because you didn't win some games, but when you win a game like this, it's a pretty big deal for your program.
Yeah, Z, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you'll have a chance to have a winning road record if you beat Oklahoma State later this year. And I don't remember the last time we had one of those. And if you would have told me that our road wins would have been Arizona and Iowa State at the beginning of the year and we were going to lose to Washington State and TCU, like that's shocking to me. Man, just super impressed with the coaching staff. So fun to win. I know that there's been a lot of noise about, we want to play better and we need to have a championship mindset, if you will. Like, don't be satisfied with wins like this. Man, that is just not where I'm at right now. Enjoy this freaking win. Like, there were things that you did poorly. There are calls that we didn't like. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. You won the game, and that's why you play them. Just unbelievable effort. I'm so proud. So happy for those guys, man. Losing 3 in a row and then going into a tough home game, that's a lot, and happy that they got this one.
Yeah, and Clay, I won't say who the guy is, but I think you got into some Twitter beef maybe yesterday afternoon. There's some certain fans that feel like this isn't enough. I don't know what more you could want of beating a top 12 team on the road, but some fans think that's still not good enough. We are not those fans. We are very excited for this program. To put that in perspective, I believe the last time you were bowl eligible through 9 games, if I'm correct, is 2013. So cool it a little bit. You're going to have some frustrating losses, but to be 6-3 and 4-2 in conference, that hasn't happened very often. In the last 2 years under Joey, we've needed a 3-game win streak in November just to make a bowl game. So very excited about where this program is headed. I think this is a thing with Joey that a lot of us feel, and I know we all share the sentiment, that he's raised the floor of this program. Wins like this were very hard to come by before him. They're happening more now with him, and we need to enjoy this process and continue to believe in where this program is headed. So let's get into some things specifically in the game. I know there's some different ways we can go about this. I want to start with the defense, because this defense, man, it's like every time you think I'm giving up on them, they come and surprise you. And so I don't really know how to judge the overall performance of this. I thought certain players, Jacob Rodriguez, best game he's played all season, not even close.
100%.
I mean, he was everywhere consistently. Secondary, I thought, played decently well. I know that Higgins and Noel still, took care of some receptions on Iowa State's end, but overall, guys, where do you judge this defensive performance? Z, I'll go to you first. I mean, is this defense improving? Was this scheme? Was it Iowa State's offense? How do you kind of measure what the defense did on Saturday?
Yeah, it's tough when you look at some of the analytics because Iowa State did still move the ball pretty well. You didn't force a ton of 3-and-outs or other things like that, but they've been opportunistic. They've been holding teams to field. When they're good, they hold teams to field goals and they force turnovers. I mean, when they do that, that gives you a lot of chances to win in the game. I was worried. You lost DB Carroll like first quarter, and that's your best interior defensive lineman. So you were down all 4 starters from the start of the year. And so I was like, oh my gosh, man, like you just cannot catch a break here. And I thought it was the best game that they'd played all year. Harvey Dyson looked really good. John Carlos Miller actually looked really good off the edge. I don't know if y'all saw him. Like he was actually pretty effective. I thought we really did a good job on the defensive line. And then Jacob Rodriguez, his stat line was pretty unbelievable. I'll be shocked if he doesn't get a Big 12 award this week on the defensive side of the ball. He had 13 tackles, 9 of them solo, 2 sacks, 2.5 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. Dude was absolutely all over the place. Makes your defense so good. And he was close to having a couple interceptions. He could have potentially had 2. He was almost there. He's gotten a lot better in his zone coverage. Which, we were really bad at the beginning of the year, and we still have some linebackers that are not great at it, but he's really taken his game up a level there. And then I thought Chapman Lewis played pretty well for you. He helps you a lot identifying stuff in the back end. You still got in some areas. It's not like your defense is, the 85 Bears or anything like that, but I think they're improving. You're seeing some of those young guys get their legs under them. They're going to still take some lumps, but I liked what I saw.
Yep. Conrad?
Yeah, I completely agree. It wasn't a perfect defensive performance, and Iowa State's offense definitely did not play very well. Rocco missed some throws that he normally hits, and you had a couple drops, bad run pass that they took there from their running back perspective. But I'm not mad at. I'm super impressed with the effort that they had. They made plays when it mattered. You're right; they did move the ball on you. They had over 400 yards of total offense, but then again, they only scored 22 points, and so I can't be that difficult at it. You came through when it mattered. Jacob Rodriguez was the highlight of the defense, as Zyler just mentioned. For me, it was so fun seeing him just make play after play after play after play. And when you've got a guy playing at that level, he kind of covers up and erases some of the other mishaps that you may have otherwise seen. And so was really encouraged by that. It was just a great defensive performance. All not perfect, but held Iowa State to 22 points, and we scored 23, and so we won the game. And we wouldn't have won the game without the defense playing as well as they did in the situations that they did. So very impressed with those guys. Very impressed with DeRuyter as well. Thought he called a good game. Was happy with that, and think that you may not be, like Zyler said, the 85 Bears, but you definitely did take a step forward, and to play that well on the road in Ames is tough, and so you did it, and was really proud of those guys for that.
Yeah, Clay, if there's one thing about this defense, especially in the games against Arizona and this past weekend in Ames, they're opportunistic when it comes to turnovers. Is that surprising to you?
Yeah, it's a little surprising, honestly, with the lack of pressure that we've been able to get on the quarterback for most of the year. I feel like we've been better at that the last 2 games than we have the rest of the year. But you mentioned Arizona. It's honestly crazy how identical these 2 games were. Offense gets off to a fast start and then completely stalls. Defense holds you in it. Jacob Rodriguez has an insane game in both instances, and then the offense comes through at the end. But yeah, I mean, I definitely like what I'm seeing from the defense. I feel like the Achilles heel this whole time we've talked about it has been the massive 70-yard plays that they've given up. And so you see, if you just don't give those up, you force them to drive the length of the field. College offenses will make mistakes and they'll turn the ball over, and that's how you can win a game that you probably shouldn't have won going into the game.
Yep. The other thing too, the only touchdown drives that they have, it was on that 3rd and 13 busted zone play where he scores. And then it was the opportunistic, when we threw that interception at the end of the first half, and then they had to bomb one in the end zone. Those are the only 2 touchdowns that they had. The rest was all field goals. I mean, yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Right. I'm not missing a touchdown, correct?
No, I think that's it. That's also credit to them on the stop on the 2-point conversion, because if they get that game's going to overtime even with our last drive, and 100%. Who knows if you can come out with a win then.
Yep. And we had you had opportunities for other stuff, CJ almost had that pick in the end zone when we stopped them. They ended up having to kick a field goal, which monster stop there, and huge refereeing call, not calling that a touchdown. I think if they'd called that a touchdown on the field, I don't think he would have been able to overturn it. But That's why you want to make those stops at the 1 yard line, because they get a penalty and then they've got to drive. Like, unbelievable. If they score there, you're looking at a totally different ball game.
Yeah, and you had the ball for 25 minutes and 43 seconds. They had the ball for 34 minutes and 17 seconds, and your defense still, even playing that much, found a way to keep the effort up, which I just thought was fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And what's interesting too on the flip side of this that I want to get into is your defensive line. We've talked about the struggles all year. I thought they did well up front relatively.
Yeah.
Even with Carroll getting hurt, that was impressive to me. Your coverage over the middle was a little better outside of the, late game touchdown they had, where I think Ben Roberts probably moved over to triple team a guy that was covered and left that tight end open. But for the most part, it looked like these guys were a lot more focused. They were getting to the football and they stayed aggressive, and they still fly. Like CJ's near pick, like that was a great read on his part. So these guys find ways to do that. We just wish they would do it over the course of 4 quarters and not give up the 30-second touchdown where it's like, okay, just like that, you've, now given up a 75-yard touchdown in 10 seconds and you're putting a lot on your offense. So great to see that this game. I do want to go to the flip side of this, though, with Iowa State's offense. It was a little bit weird. This team's usually fairly disciplined. They had a couple false start penalties. They, some clock management situations. It was pretty odd. Z, what were your thoughts on kind of that? I mean, and just Iowa State's performance on their offensive side. Is it more your defense, or was it more of a surprise on the Iowa State side?
Yeah, big penalties for me. Obviously, the biggest one being that hands to the face that wipes off a horrific interception from Behren. But yeah, they kept getting an eligible receiver downfield, which is almost never called in college. I know you only get 3 to 5 yards. I can't remember what exactly it is, but refs just rarely call that. And their guys were way, way down there. That was very uncharacteristic. That false starts, delay of games. They had to burn 2 timeouts in the third quarter. Oddly enough, that is what you never want to see that in the second half of a game. Those would have been really important timeouts for them. If you've got, 20-something seconds with 3 timeouts instead of just 1, the middle of the field is completely open. You can do a lot more stuff. So that was weird as far as the game management goes. I didn't think they maximized a lot of stuff. Other call that I thought was really poor from them was when they 3rd and 15 or something like that, and they just chose to run the QB draw play on the right side, and they ended up losing yards. I have no idea if that was just a misread or somebody was not understanding what was happening, but that was a terrible call. They ended up that was one of the worst field goal misses I've seen all year, which he was due for one. I texted you guys. I was like, dude, those 2 of those field goals he made were terrible. Like they were not good kicks, and he, delivered there and missed it by probably 50 feet. So interesting stuff from them there in the second half.
Yeah, the 3rd and 11 draw was the most peculiar play to me, and maybe it was a blown play, but it just looked like they were settling, and Rocco didn't look comfortable a lot. And credit to the defense for making that happen. But we talked about him and his ability. I didn't think it was his best game that he's had this season. Their run game, to our credit and to that defensive line that I talked about, wasn't really effective most of the game. So weird to kind of, I don't know, put into perspective on if this was more of an Iowa State problem or more of a, credit to your defense. Clayton, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think y'all touched on everything. I do want to give a lot of credit to our defense, because I felt like they made plays happen. They got to the quarterback finally. They schemed up some pressures. But yeah, the 3rd and 15 run was pretty terrible. And then Zyler also mentioned in our group text, on their second to last possession, they were just taking their time.
Yeah.
And they scored to go up. But then their last possession, they ended up having 19 seconds because they burned all the clock with their second to last possession.
That didn't make sense to me. I mean, it was like taking the play clock all the way down, and I guess, but you needed a touchdown. It wasn't like, hey, let's get in field goal range, milk the clock, and then I don't know. Yeah. That didn't make sense to me.
Conrad?
Yeah, I didn't really understand it either, but it is. I'll take it. Again, this is a lot more fun conversation to have now that we won, even with their seemingly some uncharacteristic mishaps. But really happy that they did happen, and felt nice to get lucky for a change, right?
Yeah, and just speaking of luck, I mean, if we want to transition into kind of how your offense performed, I think I texted it no less than 6 to 8 times. It's over on the last drive that we had. Like, as soon as we got the false start, I was like, it's over. And then as soon as we got the other false start, I said it's over. When it was 3rd and 15, I said it was over. 4th down, I said it was over. When we didn't score on the Jordan Brown touchdown, I was like, it's over. We're going to screw this up. And then when we got the false start I was like, it's definitely over now. Like, we're somehow going to screw this up. And,
Mm-hmm.
Credit to them. They made it happen. I need to be a little bit more firm in my beliefs that we can actually do good things. But that was such a roller coaster of a final drive. It felt like great thing, awful thing, great thing, awful. It was all over the place.
Yeah, and Z, it's so funny because I think what was it, around noon yesterday on Saturday, you're like, I think it'd be a minor miracle in my mind if you keep this game even close. I'm expecting a blowout, and so you get that at noon, you're like, oh man, Z, this guy knows more than any of us here, and he's saying this. Like, I am not excited for 2:30 on Saturday, but dude, I mean, we were all wrong, and I think we weren't picking Iowa State because we thought that, Texas Tech is a horrible football team. I think it was more of what we thought about Iowa State and how you were coming off TCU in the road game and Ames and everything. So it just, nothing set up well for you. But of course, this is the game that Texas Tech goes in and plays spoil alert. And, everybody in the Big 12 this year, we saw it, and we'll get into this a little bit, but K-State loses to Houston. Like, everybody is picking off people at random times this season. And we were that for Iowa State. I'm sure we'll see BYU fall at some point. We might see Iowa State fall again. It's happening across the board this year in the Big 12. It makes it exciting, and it gives us a lot of hope because we are now still in the conversation. And I don't think we thought we'd be in the conversation on this reaction episode, but here we are. So let's get into the offense, because this is something that, it's, again, hard. Was it Iowa State's defense or was it your offense? And they had one of the better defenses in the conferences and even in the country for that point. Offensive performance, Clayton. I know me and you were disagreeing on Behren yesterday. How do you rate him? How do you rate Behren specifically? And any thoughts on the game plan?
Yeah, I gave Behren a B. I know the middle of the game was extremely rough. I mean, almost excruciating to watch. I texted you guys at that one point when we had 22 yards in 5 drives. Yeah, which that was awful. Especially going to that after he started off 13 of 14 for like 130.
Yeah.
But overall, I thought he played pretty well. He should have had another touchdown to Aiken. That was a terrible call on that offensive pass interference.
Great call out.
And then to come through, I mean, whenever we got the ball at the 2-yard line, all of us were texting like, bet the house on a safety. There's no way we're scoring here. To lead that drive and then to lead another go-ahead drive at the end of the game, I thought that kind of bailed him out for his middle of the game struggles, which is why I said B. But he definitely, there's areas that he could clean up. I mean, the second pick, I think, to Kelly, I don't even know why he threw that. Like, that was like triple coverage, but yeah, I thought he bailed himself out at the end.
What did I say? Was it what I text? Was it that I bet my mortgage we'd get a safety on this? Or
no. It was after we threw an interception. You said I'd bet my mortgage Iowa State gets a touchdown here, and then they went 3-0.
Oh, that's right. Said, yeah. That's right.
Again, that we'll get a safety.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm
you doubled down.
I'm down 2 mortgages, I think now, which is not good. Yeah. Conrad, overall thoughts on the offense and Behren?
Yeah, it was not a perfect performance offensively. It was not a perfect performance by Behren. 22 yards and 5 drives is less than ideal, to put it mildly. But he came through when it mattered, and he threw a couple picks that were, quite frankly, pretty bad. But he came out, started strong, missed a couple deep balls at the end of the game. But
oh my gosh,
I think he's a very good quarterback. He's got 19 touchdowns, 5 picks on the year. You tell me he's got that through, this many games at this point in the year before the season starts, I'm taking it. I mean, he situationally, sure, he's made some mistakes. Yeah, he was slow processing on a couple things, but you've got a guy that, seemingly he comes through when it matters. And he played I'd probably be with Clayton on a B to B+. I know there's some people on this podcast that really one person that may not like Behren very much, but that's okay. You have the freedom to be wrong. So I'm just gonna say that there. But Beren's a good quarterback. I mean, he really is. He started so strong for you. It's just, can you put it together? If he could play that well for 4 quarters, that would be unbelievable. Also on the offense, Taj was just really impressive. Went away from him at in the middle of the game a little bit, and then came back to him and just absolutely gashed him. He's just so reliable. His patient rushing style worked really well. Really impressed with Josh Kelly too. I mean, after last week, he didn't feel like he was 100% out there, but this week he really showed what that he is who he was earlier in the season, and so was really impressed there. And just a big fan of this offense. Happy with how things turned out. Kitley called an above average game, I think. Wasn't perfect, but again, you're not in this position as a winning team on the road in Ames without Zach Kitley. So I know that may disappoint some Twitter mobsters out there, but that's a fact. And he called an above average game, and he put your players in position to win. So was happy with the offense. Wasn't a perfect performance, but we all said before the game started that if you could get to 24, we felt really good. Well, you got to 23 and you won the game. So really happy with the offense as a whole.
Z, it sounds like I'm going to have to take the stand here in a second. So why don't you go first, and then I'll save my final argument.
Yeah, I don't think Behren played particularly well, but he played good enough to win, and that's all that ultimately matters in my mind. You know, we can nitpick, but I'm happy he was able to lead a touchdown drive. Like, how awesome is that for him? That fourth down play was great. You know, good on him staying in there, delivering that ball to Kelly. Great catch. In his defense, those two deep balls, it's very easy for my couch to say, how do you miss a guy that's wide open 45 yards down the field? You know, that's probably a throw I can't even make. I don't even think I can throw a ball that far. And also the conditions for throwing deep ball, you know, it's windy and it's raining. That ball's slick. I'm going to give him a pass on that the more that I've thought about that. And honestly, it worked out to where you won. If I could, you know, choose to score with 20 seconds left or with a minute and a half left, like we would have, I'll take the 20 seconds. Only real gripe I had with Kitley, man, it was, you know, when we had this second like delay of game false start with Conyers as the Wildcat, I was like, oh my goodness, dude. And then the sky ball in the end zone, I don't love that, but it ended up working out. The play call to Taj with Conyers to score was unbelievably well blocked. Shout out to Carter and his name escapes me, Caleb Rogers. Wonderful on that. And then Conyers just blew up that nickelback. You could see Matt Campbell on the sidelines like saying, what happened? What happened? Like, couldn't believe how easy it was. And then Taj, man, we just don't talk about him enough. Just the quietest, like 120-yard performance you've ever seen. I don't think we appreciate how like that did not happen very often before Taj. And then between DeAndre and Taj, you just didn't really see 100+ yard games from our running backs very frequently. And now it's 8 games in a row for Taj. He's just really, really impressive. He's a great player. He'll probably be the best back that you've ever had statistically. I know he gets an extra year, but he has been really, really good. I'm excited to watch the last, you know, now we get 4 games of him. Maybe he sits out for the draft, but the last 3 games for sure. Really, really fun Red Raider. Great player for you. And I'm excited to watch how it ends.
Okay. All great points. And I don't disagree with any of you guys, but I must defend myself here because first, maybe I'm a little spiteful because Behren didn't respond to my text, and that's fine. He's a college kid. He doesn't need to respond to a 28-year-old guy to come on his podcast, and I get it. And you know that might.
But Behren, you are welcome if you do want to come on.
But Behren, I'm going to text you again. You gave me your cell phone number. Just saying. But we'll get into that later. Okay, on the game. What I wanted to really get into was. Okay, take away the last drive, which was great. And Behren made some great throws. I actually thought one of the better plays he made on that drive was the 3rd and 15 rollout. That was a very smart, like, let's get 8, let's make this manageable. I thought that was great. He made a good throw. Kelly made a better catch. Still, you got the first down. I do disagree. I agree with you, Z. Like, the lob to Tharp could have easily been picked. Like, if that guy just tipped it up, that could have been an interception. And they pretty much ran the same play with Jordan Brown. He kind of threw the same little duck, you know, up in the air. If he just throws that pass, that's a touchdown. Like, if he just throws a normal ball or even leads him, Brown's walking in the end zone, not judging him for that. I just don't know if I agreed with Kitley running that play again from the 1. This is the thing that we talk about with Kitley a lot is the situational play calling. It's 4th and 1. You've got the best back. Hand it to him and live with it. It's 1st and goal at the 1. Get under center, hand it to him and live with it. I just don't get trying to be cute in all of these situations. I don't berate. We're not going to get into a Kitley conversation on it. You know, is this Kitley's blah, blah, blah. I'm done having that. We won the game. We don't need to talk about it. But there are some things that happen there. And I'm like, dude, like, just simplify it. You've got arguably an All-American running back in your backfield. Now, it ended up working out for you, but imagine imagine the conversation if we lost, if you had it at the 1 and those play calls cost you the game. Imagine how we would be talking about this game today. So to Behren Morton, take away the last drive, which I just thought that maybe it was Iowa State's offense, but he had a ton of time to throw. Maybe the receivers weren't getting open. They were dropping his own coverage. They were rushing 3. There was a lot that made that difficult, but he still made some fairly poor reads. I don't want to make it seem like this was an all-time great performance by Behren, which is why I give him a C, C+. The last drive, take away the last drive. He made some throws on that.
You can't take away the last drive. You can't take away the last drive.
I'm just grading the overall performance. I just, as a whole, like what I saw first quarter, great. I was like, dude, this looks like 2022 at Oklahoma State. Here. Like he was whipping it. He was reading it. And maybe Iowa State changed coverage. I'm not smart enough to know that. Someone else in the comments can tell me why I'm wrong. But I just thought that, like, dude, you can't be making the throw like that at the end of the half. Like you're up 10-6. Like just run take a knee, dude. Like just go up with some momentum. You cannot turn the ball over that. And as a third-year quarterback in the system, just that type of read, I think it just put a sour taste in my mouth. And then he ultimately struggled, with some different reads and stuff. But I don't hate Behren Morton. I'm a fan of Behren Morton. I've done nothing but defend Behren Morton. So Conrad, do not put that out there for our loyal listeners so that Behren will never come on the show. And if anything, I won't say how, but I went to extreme lengths, and Clayton did too, to try to get Behren on the podcast. And I'll leave it at that. So, and so anyways, I just had to defend myself. I rest my case there as well. Behren, we love you, dude. You're doing a lot of good things. And to put it in perspective, I'm not comparing him to Tech quarterbacks of the past. Like Behren Morton is the best quarterback that you've probably had in your quarterback room in the last 7 years. I mean, I would probably say he's better than Nick Shimanek, so since Shimanek, right? So that's what, 8 years? Like, I mean, we're talking, and I can't wait for our off season. We have nothing to talk about when we go through like the 10 worst quarterbacks to play for you over the last, like the offense, the off season content will still be unbelievable with what kind of loopholes and rabbit holes we'll get into. But Behren, I trust him the rest of the way. His shoulder didn't look to be a problem. He took some hard hits and he got up. So I think he was very tough in this game. And yeah, dude, I'm not going to fault a guy for leading a game-winning drive. So there we go. Behren Morton, good job, dude. And Brennan here on the Broadway Shuffle, respects you, doesn't hate you. But respond to my text if you would. That'd be great. So, okay. Let's overreact since Conrad kind of threw an overreaction there on there.
Before we get there, we have 1 point of contention. The 4th and 6th go for it in the fourth quarter.
I apologize.
I know we had split decisions there. Conrad, I'll kind of let you start. Were you pro go for it or were you punted away?
I was punted away. I'm just so thankful we could have this conversation. It really doesn't matter because you won the game, and I don't even think they didn't score on that drive, right? They went.
No, they missed the field goal.
That was a missed field goal. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to punt the ball there because after that stupid, that was the delay of game there. I just that was frustrating, but we don't need to talk about that. I would have punted the ball because the conditions were starting to worsen. 4th and 6 is a lot different than 4th and 1. I would have chosen to punt the ball, but I can see the argument for going for it, but that's what I would have chosen to do just because of the situation you were in at that point. Felt like that would have been the safer call. And I know that some people, even myself, were saying on previous episodes, you play to win, which you do, but sometimes that means you need to make decisions that are calculated that may seem to be better in the moment, which in that situation, that was what I would have done. But then again, I could have been wrong. And so thankfully it didn't really matter at the end of it, but that's what I would have chosen to do. Zyler, I know we disagreed a little bit on that. I know you like the call, but that's okay. We agreed to disagree and we're sitting here both as winners. So that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly. I love to have this conversation after a win. So per the public book, I saw, the Tech Hoops guy and Benjamin Golan were kind of talking about it. The public book would have gone for it on 4th and 1, but wouldn't have on 4th and 6. And what that is, if nobody's familiar with that, it's kind of a weighted chart where it's like win probability if you go for it, win probability if you punt, or like field goal attempt, yada, yada, yada. And it tells you the differences if you convert, if you don't convert, and what's the expected value. So the book had it as a slight punt. So your ball knowledge was maybe a little bit better than me in that moment. I don't know what Tech's book says. There's all the blah, blah, blah about contextual situations. I'm on the road in that situation. I have a chance to keep my offense on the field. I don't want to get my defense. I don't want to stress them out one more time. Let's try to go win the game. But it ended up working out. So I guess I'm glad they made the call. But definitely one of contention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Clay, what were your thoughts on that? Were you punt or go for it?
Yeah, I was pro go for it. I wish we could have gotten a timeout on before the delay of game on 4th and 1.
Yeah.
Joey said that he was trying to call timeout and they didn't give it to him for some reason. So I don't know exactly what happened there. But I guess my overall thoughts would be, if you could guarantee that the punt is down inside the 5, I'm probably pro punt. My thoughts were, there's a good chance you punt that into the end zone and you net like 24 yards. So in that scenario, I'd rather take my chances on converting the 4th and 6.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know, back to Behren. I mean, if he just makes a little better throw outside the pocket, I don't know. You know, no, I'm kidding.
That hit Kelly's hands. I'm not trying to defend Behren, but that hit Kelly's hands. No, that's all I'm saying.
It was high. That was not catchable.
It was not catchable. Yeah. Says the quarterback.
You're telling me Kelly's never made
the
that
high school quarterback. Yeah.
Hey, I'm not really. I don't want to talk about high school quarterback. We can just talk about your bachelor party and how I played and how you played. We can leave it there. We can leave it there. Was it 3 picks? Was it 4 picks? How many was it?
The two touch bachelor party football game
in the rain. By the way,
we can discuss later. But
in the rain,
I do think that if you get it right, it's one of those things. You know, here we are as fans, we're judging every single play. But if you get it, you look like a genius, and if you don't, you look like an idiot.
Sure.
It's kind of funny. Again, to kind of draw the line to the Arizona game, it was the 4th and 1. We punt, missed field goal. This time it's 4th and now 6. You go for it, miss field goal, and it works out well for you both times. So.
Joey's mind has got to be in a blender. He's like, I keep not making the right decision, and it keeps working out.
Dude, yeah, and I think that's the thing for me. I mentioned earlier, but it's 4th and 1. Taj has been moving the ball. I don't think you had a lot of blown up negative run plays this game. I mean, I don't recall a ton of them that happened to previous games. Like, you were actually getting running yards, and that was also curious on the offense. You know, you come out, you run like 4 straight runs for like 35 yards, and then you pass the ball for like 3 straight possessions and have like negative yards, it felt like. Then you almost abandoned it, and then you went back to it. But I don't hate the call. I just think that in that situation, if you pin them deep, your defense had been playing well, and you try to force a stop, and you have the lead. I think that was also a thing too. But I get it. I mean, you want to go and road. I just wish you would have done the same thing last week. Like, that's the consistency. If you're going to do that, if you're going to play like that, and if you're going to bring that aggression back, and maybe last week Joey learned his lesson, was like, all right, screw it, 4th and 6 or less, I'm going for it again every time. Like, I'm back, and we live with it. I don't know. You just wish you would have saw it last week. And hey,
yeah, and the thing that we don't have is their customized book that's based on their offensive tendencies and what their defense is doing. So we get the public book, which is like if you have 2 generic teams playing each other in, standard conditions. That's what we get to see. Their book might have said, this is a clear go for it, or in some of those situations, it's a clear punt. You just want to make sure that you're making good decisions long term, because eventually those are going to pay off in the long run. And I think Joey knows that he should. Sometimes he just gets a little bit in his head about what he should be doing in certain situations.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, this is not an episode where we have to get too much into the weeds. We won the game. And so we can talk about it. We don't have to, no one's to blame here. We get to celebrate. It's fun to talk about still, but at the end of the day, we won. It's not TCU. We're moving forward. But so let's go let's go to Let's Overreact. So I got 2 questions for you guys this week. Each week we like to do a Let's Overreaction after the game. So the first question, I'll go to you, Clayton, first. Texas Tech will finish the regular season with 8 wins. Overreaction or reality?
I'd say that's reality. I mean, you have 3 games left. You'll be favored in 2 of them, and the other one you're at home. So I'd say there's a strong possibility ending with at least 8 wins, if not 9, if you can pull off the upset this weekend. Okay.
Zyler, agreed?
Yeah, I think you're a slight underdog at home to Colorado, probably 45% chance there. I think you'll be a road favorite at Oklahoma State, probably by about the same margin, 3 to 5-ish points. And then you'll be probably a 5 to 6 point favorite against West Virginia. I'd say 8 wins is probably the most likely, but I definitely don't think it's guaranteed.
Do you think 9 wins or 7 wins is more likely?
7.
They're pessimistic, Z. There's the minor miracle.
Let me look. I could do the calculation real quick. Let me see. But that's a great question.
Why he does that Kool-Aid man, you answer.
Exactly. I'm back, baby. I'm back. Optimism is flowing. You beat that team on the road. You're going to that's 8 wins is reality, if not 9. Jones is going to be rocking on Saturday. We're all going to be there in person. We're going to be wearing the below average Patrick Mahomes gray uniforms that I don't really care for, but we'll talk about that on next episode. But you're going to be fit. You're going to play. I think you're going to play Allen. I hope you play Allen Bowman when you go to Stillwater, and that's a guaranteed win. And then you got West Virginia in your own house. Guys, we 8 wins at least is reality at this point. We have to. It's a roller coaster ride. We were in Dante's Inferno, like Zyler mentioned on an earlier episode last week. Now we're back in reality. The Kool-Aid factory is humming. I mean, we're ready. So 8 wins is definitely a reality, if not 9. And if you win your bowl game. Do we even do? I won't even talk about it yet. We'll leave that for another episode.
We'll just stop there. Let's see what happens against Colorado.
Conrad thinks the most likely outcome is 10 wins. That's what he's.
That's what it sounds
exactly.
like. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay, well,
so ESPN's FPI has us projected at right about 7.45. So basically, a toss up. Like they think, probably you should lean towards 7. But if you guys were offered 8 wins right now, would you take it, or would you let it roll?
Oh, 100%. I'd take it.
100%. Right after he puts 10 wins on the table.
Yeah.
No, but that's not a guarantee though. That's not a guarantee because you could very well have, I mean, I don't even want to say this, but I'm going to say it for our listeners just for entertainment purposes. You could very well have a Baylor repeat on Saturday. If there's any team that's likely to do that to you, what Baylor did, it's Colorado. And so if you could tell me right now that happens, but you beat Oklahoma State and West Virginia, I think I'd take it for the 8 wins. What do you guys think? Would you? I mean, I'm being optimistic. I think you can win 4 straight, or 5 straight. But I don't know. That's my thought.
Oh, hey, semifinal playoff game. Here we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. I'm taking 8 wins.
I think I would take 8 wins too.
Yeah,
I would take it as well. Although I know ESPN FPI says 7. In my mind, I think that 9 is more likely than 7. I don't see us going 1 and 2.
Yeah, you just never know. I had somebody ask me, Ryan Evans texted me, and he said, if you had this win, would you trade this Iowa State win for either a TCU or a Baylor win?
No. Me personally, no.
Mm-mm.
You don't think so? What if it was for both of them? If you could get TCU and Baylor, but you dropped Iowa State.
Because you'd have one loss in the Big 12.
But would you trade it for either?
No, not the significance of winning on the road against a top 12 team.
No, I'm torn. I think beating in-state rivals is a lot of fun.
If Iowa State wasn't actually any good and they were kind of on your level, and you asked me that question, I'd probably take a Baylor or TCU win because of my disdain for both teams. But because Iowa State is so good this year and was undefeated up until that point, that's why I have to take Iowa State, even though that hurts me to say.
Dude, if just thinking back when we were 5-1, if I told you, hey, you're going to go 1 and 2, there's almost no chance you pick the Iowa State game as the win that you actually have. Like that is an unbelievable turn of events. Like you're going to get blown out by Baylor, lose by 1 at TCU, and then beat Iowa State on the road. It's like
yeah, that's complete opposite.
Sounds like Texas Tech to me, man. I don't know. It sounds like the roller coaster of our fandom for sure. Okay, next question. Taj Brooks will finish with All-American honors. First, second team. Overreaction or reality? Clayton?
Man, I don't have all of the running back stats across the country, but I do think that's a good possibility of him being one of the 4 backs selected. Obviously, Genty is going to be one. RJ Harvey is probably going to be another. So there's 2 backs left. I don't know. I guess
Amari Hampton out of North Carolina has probably got a chance.
Yeah. Judkins, he's probably
so Scadaboo's got a chance.
Oh yeah,
I think he's got a chance. I think first team's probably too far unless he just goes 200 plus in each of these last 3 games. But yeah, anyway, sorry Clayton, finish your answer.
No, I that's pretty much it. I think he's got a shot. So I guess I'll say reality based on that. I don't think that's a huge overreaction.
And then Z, you're saying reality too?
If he would have played the Washington State game and just added another 100 yards, his season stats look so much better because he's, if you look at rushing stats right now, he's 6th in the country, total rushing yards at 1,047. That's, the leader is Genty with 1,500. But if he just added another 100-yard game, he's sitting right there in fourth. He'd probably be sitting there right with RJ Harvey. Man, it's tough. He just doesn't do it in the receiving game as well. Like Scadaboo's going to have, he's got 400 receiving yards, which is crazy to go with, 1,000 rushing yards. He's got 14 from scrimmage, 1,400. So I don't know. He's got a chance. I think you need to finish strong and you need to be like a good looking team and you need to, maybe lean on him. And he needs to have like a huge game, like a 200 plus rushing yards, 3 touchdowns, something that really puts him on the map. I think
he's going to do that in Stillwater. Don't worry.
I hope so. I really hope so.
I hope you're right, Conrad. Overreaction.
Yeah,
reality.
I'll go reality based on what they said. Think he's a great back for you. Gonna miss him when he's gone. But yeah, I think he's a good player, and I think that's definitely reality based on his season so far and what he can do going forward.
Awesome. Well, if
it's crazy that he might not. Might not make first team All Big 12. Like I think RJ Harvey's probably the leader in that group, but man, it'd be tough picking between him and Scadaboo. He's got
Giddens
more yards.
Has had a good year too. I don't think
Giddens has been really good.
Yeah.
Giddens has played 9 games already, and Taj only has. That's the thing that's killing Taj right now. Is he has 1 less game, and it's because he was injured. That's hurting his numbers. But yeah, man, it'll be interesting. He could be second team, and that wouldn't be like an outrageous decision. Big 12. That wouldn't shock me.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens if Taj does that and plays well the next 3 games. That should be a good sign for you and your chances as well. So, okay, well, let's get to something quickly here, where we were right and where we were wrong. And great news for fans of the Broadway Shuffle and all of Red Raider Nation. We are idiots. We were all wrong. 0 for 4 this week. First time that's happened all year. We all went chalk Iowa State. I will say in our Pick'em League, I did triple play Texas Tech to cover the 13.5. So I kind of said that we'd at least keep it competitive. But no, we were all 0 for 4. Conrad, going to you, and for our listeners wondering, where the heck is the level of the Kool-Aid? Why are you guys taking so long to get to it? Conrad, give us the state of the Kool-Aid factory. That Cyclone Cola, I said on last week's episode of Tech Found a Way to Win, I'd be chugging it all the way to Lubbock this week on my drive, and that state troopers all over Texas would need to watch out for me and the Cyclone Cola dripping from my gas tank. But where are we after the Cyclone Cola, and what is the Kool-Aid looking like headed to Colorado?
Yeah, the Cyclone Cola, man, it was made in limited quantities and for good reason. And but now at this point in the week and going into the next week, the Kool-Aid factory is back at levels that it was when we were 5-1 because of what you just did on the road. It is an honor to be the CEO. We have had people begging for their jobs back. They even said they were going to come work for free, which I really appreciated. I've never seen that before. The investment into the Kool-Aid factory is back at an all-time high as well. It's a roller coaster, guys. We know how Texas Tech sports are. Your highs of highs and the lowest of lows. And so the Kool-Aid factory reflects that. And so this week you're going to see a new flavor, and it will not be produced in limited quantities. It's going to be produced for the masses. So get your orders in, and you're going to like the flavor that comes up this week. So Kool-Aid Factory is doing well. I know you all want some, Brennan. I'm just glad you have unlimited access, if you will, to the Kool-Aid Factory to make sure you get Cyclone Cola, because a lot of people, they want some and they can't get any because we didn't make enough. But that's on us. We'll be better next time.
Well, good, man. They'll be purchasing whatever flavor Colorado is. I know we'll release that on Thursday, but I know we'll all be in Lubbock on Thursday, and we'll be passing out Kool-Aid samplers or whatever you want to call it there in Lubbock. So come get it. Probably, I don't know, somewhere around Chimmy's. We'll let you know. So, okay, well, news and notes from around the Big 12. KSU drops a huge game. Kansas State loses on the road to Houston. That is huge for your chances. We'll get into that a little more on Thursday. UCF demolishes Arizona with man, that win. We thought it was great early on. Arizona since has just completely tanked. They just cannot buy any sort of good things happening for them. They lose to UCF. I think it was 56-12, I believe, was the final score in that game. And then Baylor wins on a walk-off against TCU. Another good game for you, actually. You're rooting for the Bears after your win. TCU now drops to 3 Big 12 losses, so you now jump them again. You control your own destiny when it comes to potential tiebreakers with TCU. And then ASU beats OSU in Stillwater. The Oklahoma State Alan Bowman show continues to lose. And we are hoping to join that there in a couple weeks in Stillwater. So anything surprising real quick, guys, about this slate? I mean, obviously the K-State game to Houston, but good things happen for you if you're a Texas Tech fan after that win and seeing some other teams that lost.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Sorry. I was really surprised to see K-State go down to Houston. I guess I got to start changing my opinion on what Houston is because they are showing some signs of life. Mm-hmm. And then I did actually think that Oklahoma State was going to beat Arizona State. I thought if there was one game this year that they would win, it would be their homecoming game.
But I was sixth.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They still haven't won a Big 12 game. And most of them, they've gotten blown out. So, yeah, that was surprising to me.
Yeah, Arizona getting just absolutely crushed is surprising. That was the biggest result for me.
Conrad, any of these shocking?
I will say something that I never thought I would say ever. I was rooting for the Baylor Bears to beat TCU at the end of that game for one simple reason. Actually, two. I'm still hurt from last week from that game. That's probably going to sting for a while, the TCU loss. And I just cannot stand Sonny Dykes. And so to see him lose, it's great. So I'll say that there. Go Bears, I guess. Oh, that hurts to say. Never mind. Maybe not go Bears, but I'm happy they won to some level.
Yeah, it was good. It was good for Tech, and we'll get into that on our Big 12 Power Rankings on Thursday's show as well, and kind of look at some maybe scenarios as you're now in the stretch run and what a win against Colorado would mean for you, and where you need some potential teams to lose and some tiebreakers and stuff. We'll get into all that on Thursday's show. So, looking ahead to next week, Big Noon, Fox's version of Game Day. It's like the AAA version of the major leagues when it comes to game day shows, but nonetheless. Big Noon, Matt Leinart, Mark Ingram, Urban Meyer. Can't wait to see Urban Meyer live in person. I wonder who
he'll be see Urban Meyer at Shimmy's.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Urban Meyer at Shimmy's. See which chicks he'll be dancing on Friday night.
Yeah, co-eds everywhere.
Yeah,
Urban Meyer's on his way.
We'll be taking some DP shootouts with Urban Meyer on Friday night. I can almost guarantee it. They'll be in Lubbock. Looking forward to that. I think you can go check that out Saturday morning, like at 8:30, 9 a.m. They'll be there, so that'll be fun. And then the game is at 3 p.m. So thankfully, we got like the best of both worlds. We get to have them come, but avoid the 11 a.m. kickoff, which is normally what follows Big Noon. 3 o'clock kickoff at the Jones. And what else is going on this week? Oh, yeah, basketball. Texas Tech basketball has got arguably the most important event in America. Tuesday night inside the United Supermarkets Arena. I'm blanking. It's like I can't think of anything else that's going on that night, but I will be watching on ESPN Plus Texas Tech, and someone tell me the name. Is it Bethune?
It's Bethune-Cookman.
Bethune-Cookman.
Powerhouse.
There you go. So if you had to pick a winner, let's just say Texas Tech represents something and Bethune represents something else. And let's say Bethune is, I don't know, blue and Texas Tech is red, because why not? Who's winning Tuesday night? Pick a color.
Hey, red all day, baby. That's what the Red Raiders are. Red's taking home the W on Tuesday night. So go Red Raiders.
All right. Clayton?
Yeah, I'll go with the Red Raiders as well.
Z?
Yeah, I'll take Texas Tech to win, but watch out for Bethune. They're a little bit spicy. There may be some just some notorious things that they could be working on. You never want to count out a team. It doesn't matter how down you are.
So yeah, you never know what late game strategy they might have. We'll find out what happens. But looking forward to basketball.
Might be legal,
might
not be legal.
Yeah.
Conrad.
You never know. We'll see what happens. But make sure, to flip, in all seriousness, check out Texas Tech as we open our season. And also Tuesday morning, we got a special episode dropping as well to check that out for basketball season. We've got an awesome guy joining our show to come and give us a little preview on Texas Tech. He who knows a lot more than we do when it comes to basketball. So make sure to check out for an extra episode this week on Tuesday as well. So, okay, let's get through our Tommy Tubervilles of the week super quickly as we close the show. If you're unfamiliar, listening for the first time, frauds of the week. Tommy Tuberville, one of the biggest frauds in Texas Tech history. We like to make fun of people on this show. We titled it Tommy Tuberville of the week. So without further ado, Conrad, who is your Tommy Tuberville of the week?
I'm going to start off my Tommy Tuberville of the week by reading a tweet from @CycloneLarry69 on Twitter. He said, "I am tired of being Texas Tech's Super Bowl. This is the one game a year they always have circled on their calendar. While we're focused on winning championships, they're only focused on beating us. It's time to end this series." Cyclone Larry, if you want to end the series, that's your prerogative. We like the series because we seem to win quite a bit in this series. We won last time in Ames as well. We won this time. You lost on Saturday. Cyclone Larry, don't tweet stupid things after you lose, man. I know that's kind of your deal, but when you lose, you should probably stay off the Twitter box. So, Cyclone Larry, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
I'm sure there's some other sports
man.
podcast somewhere else that has picked several Texas Tech Twitter accounts as their fraud of the week as well. But we'll continue making fun of it.
We should do
Utah
that.
We've got Utah and Iowa State so far. I'm sure we'll find a couple more before the season ends. Clayton, who's your Tommy of the week?
Yeah, I'll try to make this quick. I know we're almost out of time. My Tommy Tuberville of the week is Georgia quarterback Carson Beck. Yesterday, he had his third game this season with 3 interceptions, which leads the FBS. I've never seen a guy get carried more than him. In his last 2 games, he has 2 touchdowns and 6 picks, and they're 2-0 with a road win against the number 1 team in the country. This is a scorching hot take, but I literally think if you switched Behren Morton and Carson Beck, both teams would have relatively the same record this year. So Carson Beck, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Scorching hot take. We'll discuss that maybe later. Z,
I can buy that.
I could buy it. I could see that for sure. Z, thoughts on that? And who's your Tommy Tuberville of the week?
Yeah, Carson Beck. He has a Brock Bowers problem. I think he had a great year last year, but without Brock, he is, and Lad McConkey, obviously, he's struggled a bit. My Tommy Tuberville of the week, and I actually feel kind of bad kicking down a little bit here, is the Nebraska football program. I saw this stat. It was unbelievable. So Nebraska now has had 31 games in where they had a possession where they were either tied or trailing by just 1 score. So, you're tied up or you're down 3, you're down 6, you're down 7. They are 1-30 in those games right now. They're 0-7 in bowl clinching opportunities under Matt Rule right now. So in those, they've had 35 drives. It's over 31 games. They've had 13 turnovers, 10 different quarterbacks, 4 different offensive coordinators, 4 overtimes. Only 3 scores in those 35 drives, which is horrific. That's less than 10% of the time. 2.5 different coaching staffs, just 1 win. And it was against Northwestern back in 2019. So this goes all the way back to 2018. That is unbelievable. I think I would. Can you imagine the things that we would be talking about if we were enduring something like that? That is unbelievable. So Nebraska late game management, you are my Tommy Tuberville of the week.
Yeah, Nebraska sounds like another team that I've had be a Tommy, and I was thinking about choosing them again. USC, Lincoln Riley, another late game loss against Washington last night to drop to 4-5. But I'm going to another Big Ten program, James Franklin and Penn State. You had 2 possessions at home, 1st and goal, 5-yard line or less. How many points did you come up with? 0. Tommy Tuberville of the week. You do that, you deserve to be a fraud. You consistently cannot beat Iowa State. I think you're now 1-11 under James Franklin. You got to find a way to beat them to compete for a title and compete for the Big Ten. I wish I had that problem at Texas Tech where I could say, oh man, we're 7-0 and keep losing to a top 5 team. Nonetheless, I'm going to still pick you as the fraud of the week, losing a whiteout game at home. So solid Tommy Tubervilles this week. I think as we get later into the season, there's going to be a lot of, like very unfortunate ones, like maybe an Ole Miss or a Texas losing A&M or something based on the situation. Can't wait to see what comes up. A&M would have been a good one as well, too, getting blown out against South Carolina on the road. So, well, no Tech trivia this week. Z's cooking up something for Thursday. He had to take a break, give his brain a rest after just the roller coaster of emotions in Ames on Saturday. So we'll let that happen. But thank you, everyone, who comes and listens to our show. Please hit the subscribe button, like the episode below. You can follow us on all of our social medias at the Broadway Shuffle and on our YouTube channel at the Broadway Shuffle, a Texas Tech sports podcast. And let us know who you are. Comment below. Give us your thoughts. We've got a lot of people starting to do that more. We'd love to hear from you. Know who you are. And we are all here together as we look forward to beating Colorado in Lubbock. So for Conrad, Zyler, and Clayton, I'm Brennan. We'll see you guys on Thursday. And Wreck 'em Tech, man. Kool-Aid Factory's open. We're heading to Lubbock, boys. Can't wait to see y'all soon.